We are doing a mock test on for loops, and this is for grade 10 information technology, and this is question 1. So we've got a question here where we're going to complete the code for when we click on a button for BTN find that calculates and displays the sum of all the fractions in multiples of 5, so 1 over a multiple of 5. So we will give them a range of numbers. So for example, if we start from 1 to 22, it's going to go from 1 up until 22, and every denominator is on the top or the bottom. Denominator, yes, that's the denominator there. Yeah, there's a fine line between the numerator and the denominator, if you get that joke. Okay, so there we go. So we want to check if the denominator is divisible by 5, and if it is, we're going to add it. So 1 plus 1 over 5 plus 1/10 and so on. So we always seem to be adding the 1. So that's something to be aware of. So all the fractions of the multiple of that. So let's go and do that quickly. We're going to go to our program. Here we've got what it looks like. So we're going to get the top and end value from these two spin edits. And we're not always going to assume that those numbers are going to be multiples of 5, but we'll see how it goes. So there's going to be a 1, and that's a spin edit end. And when we double, so let's get that input. So we've got two variables there. I like to have r's in front of my variables so that I know that they're integers. So over here, I'm going to say r start value. That's what I think the V stands for, is whatever value you get from this spin edit, which is spin start. What property? The value property will return what is inside there. And then that r, not send, must be end. What is there? S there should be an E. Right. So the r end value will be whatever is from the other spin edit, which is the end spin edit, and its value property will tell me what was typed inside that little block. Okay, so we're going to do a for loop that goes from, so r, we'll have an r variable. We've already got r declared there. That's nice of them. They've already declared r. So r equals 1, or from the start value actually, r start value to the r end value. And we are going to, what are we going to do? We're going to keep checking if that value, so that r is going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's going to keep on going like that until we get to 100 in this case, because they want us to go to 100. So we're going to keep doing that. And what do we want to do? We want to keep adding it. So we're going to be doing some sort of sum, if you remember. So we need to have some sort of sum variable. They've got an answer variable, so we can use that. And the reason why they made it real is because we're dealing with fractions. So we will say, okay, so our answer is equal to whatever our answer is plus, now this represents the denominator. That doesn't represent the number we must add, it's the denominator. So if we get a 3, we basically want to add 1 over 3. So we're going to add 1 divided by r every single time. Okay, so that's what we're doing. We're taking the answer value and we're taking whatever's in it at the moment, and we're going to add 1 over whatever the r value is. So it's 1 over 1 or 1 over 2 and so on. But whenever we do this, whenever you take a value and make it equal to itself plus another value, whenever you change it like that, the very first time it does this, what is our answer? It needs a starting value, some sort of value to start with. So that's why we're going to initialize our answer to a starting value. And I'm going to just double check this because they always add 1. So I've got a funny feeling we must initialize it to 1 so that we always add that 1, because I'm not sure we're always going to get that fraction. So normally you initialize things to 0. But I've got a funny feeling we're going to have to change that to a 1. We'll see when we get our answers done. Okay, so that's what we do. We set it to 0 and we take whatever's in it at the moment and add 1 over 1, and then 1 over 2, and then 1 over 3. But that's not, we don't want to add every fraction. We only wanted to add the fractions that are multiples of 5. So I only want to check if that r variable. So when we come here, I don't want to check, I don't want these ones. I don't want those ones. 5 is divisible by 5, so I want that. And then when I get to 10, I'll say, yes, that's 1. That's divisible by 10. So we only want to do this when this r variable is divisible by 10. So I need to check If r is divisible by 10, how do I know if that? Well, if I divide it by 5, that's not going to help me. But because you can divide any number by 5. I can divide 7 by 5. But the difference between 10 divided by 5 and 7 divided by 5 is that 7 divided by 5 will leave a remainder, where 10 divided by 5 does not. So if I take r and I mod 5, and I want to check if that gives a remainder, I want no remainder. If I make it equal to 0, if r mod 5 is equal to 0, then I know that this number is divisible by 5. And then I'm just going to put that in there. I always like having ends, begins and ends, just in case I want to add more stuff later. Okay, so that's what I think it must be. That's the end of the for loop. And then once that's done, we're going to display it. So we're going to go from 1 to 100 and check each of those values if it's divisible by 5. If we find one that's divisible by 5 like that, yes, we're going to take whatever's in answer and add 1 over 5 to it. And then we're going to find the next one, 10. We're going to add 1 over 10 to it. And then the last little bit, they want us to display the answer, but where we do display it? I'm assuming in this little edit control. Edit result, and do they tell me how it must look? They don't tell me. So just display to 5 decimal places. Obviously, we're dealing with lots of numbers here, so let's go. So we want to display edt result.text is equal to my answer. But this answer is a real and this is a string. So we want to convert it from what it is. It's a real, so float. We want to convert it to a string, but we want 5 decimal places, so I'll put the f in. And we want ff fixed, comma, I don't care how many values in front of the decimal, but behind the decimal, I want a 5. I want 5 decimal places. Let's see if that works. I've got a funny feeling we're going to have to change that to a 1, because we don't actually do this adding of a 1, because 1 is not divisible by 5. So 1 over 1 will not actually add. I don't think so. If I do that, they want a value from 1 to 100. We don't have an example. So let's go 1 to 22, and we're expecting 1.41. So if I go 1 till 22, Mr. Long, I get the same value except for there's no 1 in front. So that tells me, Mr. Long, we were supposed to initialize this to a 1 so we can add the 1 to it. Okay, so that looks like it will give me my results. So if we go from 1 to 80, or from 15 to 80, 15 to 80. Oh, 1.37615. There it is. Okay, so well done, everyone. We got the first question done. For the other videos from this mock test, go to our YouTube channel, click on that subscribe button, and leave a comment. We'd love to hear from you. And remember, don't do it the long way. Do it the Mr. Long way.